Welcome back. In today's sessions, we are going to discuss in detail about the ESXi host. Now, the agenda of this video is to install the new ESXi, and after that, to that new ESXi, we are going to configure the hardware requirement as the 8 virtual CPUs, and I will assign 32 GB of RAM, and I will assign a hard disk, 150 GB, 4 of them. And I will add 4 network adapters to it. So these will be my requirements of the machine, which I will set it up and I will install the new ESXi. So once we are completed with the ESXi installation, then I will go ahead with the web GUI, web interface of the ESXi. What options, what are the different menus and options, we find everything. We will look at the menus, and after that we are going to assign the license key, and after that we will deploy some virtual machines. So I do have a MikroTik routers which will take very less RAM, that is only 256 MB or 400 MB of RAM. So I will be deploying those 4 of those MikroTik routers, and I will be also doing networking inside my ESXi. So networking in a sense that what I'm going to do is that I am having 4 uplinks. So I will say I will have 5 uplinks. So network adapters. So one will be a default switch, that is a V switch, which will have one uplink 0. Next I will create one more switch. I will say switch 1, that will have uplink 1 and 2. And I will have one more switch, switch 2, that will have uplink 2, 3 and 4. So I'm adding 2 uplinks in order to do the load balancing for my machines. And all of these adapters will be connected to the NAT adapters overall in the workstation. Alright, so I'm not worried about this part. I'm only worried about this part now. So my requirements are like I want to create 2 more new switches with 2 more new port groups. And port groups names I will keep the same, switch 1 PG and switch 2 PG port groups. So once I create that one, what I will be doing is that I will allocate MikroTik routers. So I will have one MikroTik router with the 4 adapters to it, connected to it, and I will connect 2 adapters to the switch 1 and another 2 adapters to the switch 2, and I will install one more MikroTik router with the same setup, 2 adapters connected to switch 1 and 2 adapters connected to switch 2. So these 2 adapters connected to switch 1 should communicate with each other, and these 2 switches connected to switch 2 should communicate with each other. So we will be assigning IP addresses to one of the interfaces. So 4 adapters means the hierarchy will be Ethernet 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I will assign IP address to 1 and 3. So 1 will be assigned in the subnet of 10.1.1.0/24, and 3 will be assigned in the subnet of 20.1.1.0/24. And after that we will also look if we how to assign the VLAN IDs for the port group and all those things. Those are in the advanced networking, but I will also show you how to configure the VLANs. But to understand the ESXi host client, this is my lab, this is what I want to configure, and then this is what I want to achieve. And after that, finally I will be adding a centralized storage. So I have my Windows Server 2016 installed. In that one I do have ESXi storage ready to be connected. So I will connecting this storage now. And after that, I will deploy a MikroTik router. So MTR MikroTik router in this storage. And I will also, when we come to this topic, I will explain why we are adding a networking storage to it. All right, so this is what I'm going to do now. So let's get started now. So I will create a virtual machine, click on next. I will select this one. I will go to my hypervisor. I'm going with the version 8. Even though I have the version 7, still I'm going with the latest one, version 8. So ESXI 8 is been detected, so I will give a name test ESXI, and I've already created a folder for it. So I will go to the test ESXI, click on OK, click on next. As I said, I will be having 150 GB of a 4 storage databases. So click on next and click on finish. So as per my requirements, I will go ahead and I will assign 32 GB of RAM, and I will assign 4 into 2 8 virtual CPUs, and I will also enable virtualize Intel VTX. And now I have one hard disk, I need 3 more, so I will go ahead and add the hard disk. Click on next, click on next, next, and say 150 GB, next, and finish. You got 2, let's add 2 more. Got 3, let's add 1 more. Now I have networking adapter only one, so let's add 4 more adapters. So this is only 4, I should have number 5, that means it will be 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I do have 5 adapters over here, 4 storage databases, 32 GB of RAM, and 8 virtual CPUs. I think RAM will be too much, so I will go with only 16 GB. Alright, that's all with my settings now. My virtual machine is all good, so let's go ahead and power on. Alright, so it should install soon now. And I think let me also check if my Windows server is up and running yet. Yep, so my DNS server is running. Now I will also configure my ESXi networking as I will assign the IP address as 150.1.7.101. Subnet mask will be /24, and default gateway will be default, that is .2, and my yes, the problem is that my DNS server is on 192.168.1.100, so this is in the bridge network. So what I will do is that I will assign one of the management first adapter into the bridge mode so that I can communicate with the DNS server. So let's make 13 changes now. So I will go to this one, and here I will simply go to settings, simply go to network adapter first one and select it as a bridge, because that will be acting as a management one. So click on enter, click on F11. Now it is scanning for the devices, so it should show you the 4 storage devices. So we will select the first one only, because that is only specifically I am using it for ESXi host only, and the remaining 3 databases I will use for my virtual machines. So I'm just isolating those things for them. So password will be mois123 hash, and that's it. The ESXi installer is configured to ESXi version 8. Warning, the disk will be repartitioned. That's fine. Click on F11, and now it should install the ESXi server. Alright, now coming to the DNS now. So I will do one thing. I will here change the IP address to 192.168.1.101. My default gateway will be .1, and my DNS server will be this one. I will not give a secondary DNS. I don't want my ESXi to communicate with the internet anyhow, so I'm least worried about it. Alright, so let it install now, and after that it will reboot. Alright, so it's booting now, let it boot. Alright, so it got the IP address. Let's change that one now. Press F2, login. After login, we will just move to configure management network, and here I will select IPv4. Go to the last option, press on space, and after that I will change the IP address to 101. Default gateway will be the same, everything will be the same. Click on OK. I want to change the DNS configuration, and I will say that use the following DNS, that is 100. And I don't want to give any alternate DNS, but for this ESXi I will say that test esxi.sysable.com.au. So I will make sure that this name, DNS name, is being assigned to 101. So for that one, let me take a remote PC to my DNS server. Okay, so okay. So name will be adminis. All right, so so I will create a DNS record for this ESXi machine so that it can resolve it. So I will go to tools, go to DNS, select the Windows machine, forward looking zone, go to my domain, click on a record, and I will say that test esxi.sysable.com, that is 192.168.1.101. Click on OK, OK, done, done, and that's it. Now click on F2 again. Now the host name is ready, DNS server is ready. Click on OK, and after that press on escape and press on Y. It should let me test the management network. So go to the test the management network, and these are the settings: default gateway, DNS server, and test ESXi. Now you see that if he is able to resolve everything is good with your networking, it should say okay, okay. So that's it. That's how you set your DNS servers and everything. Now since that my ESXi is up and running, so let's get connected to it now. So we'll say 192.168.1.101. Click on advanced, and this is my ESXi. I don't want to join the VMware. It says license is for 60 days. We will install the license very soon. Now this is the web interface of the ESXi client. So I have seen the previous video of my introduction where the this site was cut off. So that's why I'm just going ahead with the new installation of the ESXi in this lab. Now this is the whole host. So if you see on the left hand side, if I click on host, it will show me the what is the CPU capacity, how much RAM it is consuming right now, and how much of storage it has already taken. Now the storage, you can see that it says 20.34 GB is free, but again I have given an entire partition of 150 GB for only for ESXi. So after that, this is what it is left. Now, if I click on manage, this is where you will see the advanced setting, auto start, swap, time and date settings and everything, which we are not worried about it yet. Now with the hardware, you will see whatever the hardware, it will automatically detect if your physical device or bare metal server has any kind of hardware. Power management, it's also unknown because this is running already on the virtual, so it doesn't detect anything. Licensing, yes, this is where you will click on assign license. So let me get the license. Now I will give you the license keys of file and everything. You can just copy paste those serial keys. So I will click on assign. So don't worry about paste it over here. Check license, assign license. And after that, that should be good. You see that expiration says never. It's only for the lab purpose, so you don't have to worry about it. Now the features, you see that all the features are included in this particular key. So according to your subscription, only it will show those features which are you are eligible to configure. Since this is a lab one and it doesn't expire and never, so that's why we have all the features to explore. Now fault tolerance, you can see up to 8 virtual CPUs. That's good. Now let's go to the packages. This is where the ESXi host packages lives. Services, this is what the service is currently running on the ESXi host, and according to your requirement you will run the remaining services. Security and users and authentication, currently I don't have anything. If you want to join the domain, you can just click on join domain, enter the domain name, that should be sysadmin.com.au because I already have that server. Use authentication proxy. Now we don't have any proxy for that one, so I will just say username will be administrator at sysable.com.au and the password, and I will click on join domain. Alright, so Active Directory is enabled, domain membership is okay, domain is being joined, that's all good. Now let's go back to my Active Directory. I will create the users now. Go to Active Directory users and computers. I will click on this one, expand this one, click on users, select, let me this. Alright, so I will right click on this one, go to the new, and I will add new user. So user one will be the first one. Next, user one at sysable.com.au. Next, the password will be mois123#, and password never expires. Click on next and finish. I have created a user. That's all good. Now, if I go back to the users, currently there is a root user only, so I will click on add user. So here I will say user1 at sysable.com.au and password is required. So okay, so let me cancel this one. So it is now adding the user which will be locally available. So this is the local database. But here authentication, you see that we have joined the Active Directory domain, so we can also get the access via the domain name. So let me first go ahead and log off. Since we have joined the domain, let me logged in using user1 at sysable.com.au and the password. So it should verify from the Active Directory as far as I think. See, permission to perform this operation was denied, so that I need to set those up. So let me log back using the user. I will go to the manage one more time, security, I will go to the roles. So these are the by default roles connected to your define in your ESXi host. If you like, you can add your custom role. Exactly what you want to allow. You want to allow particular machines to be accessed or not. Again, you can discuss this one in very detail, but I don't think so. We need to spend much time on this one because it's pretty straightforward roles. Lockdown mode, so we don't worry about that one for now. Now in the user, let me go ahead and create user one and click on add. So let me go log out and log in with user one because that is a local database. Okay, so something I'm doing wrong. So let me see. I think I'm not assigning the roles for them. That's the reason. So I will go back to manage security users. I will click on that one, click edit user. Only I don't see any permissions for that one. For the roles, click on add roles, and in the roles you see these are the different options. Okay, I'm seeing how I can assign the role for this one. ESXi user, authentication, that is all good. So I need to assign a role in order to get provide access to this particular user. Now coming to the certificate, by default the ESXi client host uses the default self-signed certificate, which it will show in your browser as connection not secure. That's fine. Now in order to get that certificate error to be removed, and it's entirely a different topic and it is very much in advance, so that I don't worry about that one right now. All right, so I'm trying to figure out this one. So in the settings, these are the administrator settings, that is root access settings. You can change the password if you go to settings and usage, languages, these many languages you can, console if you want to get a console. Application timeout is currently 15 minutes if you want to turn off. That means it will, once you're logged in, it will stay logged in, that's it. So be careful with that one. It's better to have that 15 minutes. Now in the monitor option, you can currently monitor the CPU, RAM and everything. If you go to the hardware, we don't have a physical hardware, so this might not be that. Next, if I go to storage, still I did not create the storages. So if I go to events, you can see the logs over here, what had happened, and logs over here. And if you have performed any task, it will show up over here. If you remember, we have performed the domain one notification. We don't have any notification. Now at the bottom you see that what are the recent tasks you have performed. This is where you can see all the list over here. And in the help, if you see, if you want to get any help, this is where you have all your links and everything. Now for the navigator, if you click on this side, it will go back to this option. So if you click back on that option, it will come back as this. It will show you the whole thing. It's up to you again. Now virtual machines, I will come back later. Now with the storage, now you see that this is the default storage. Now I will click on new data store. If you remember, I do have three more data storages. So I will select the create new VMFS, click on next. I will say data store one. I will select the first one, click on next, and I next and finish. And yes, it will erase the content. That's all good because that is the empty database. Click on one more because I do have two more. Click on next. I will say data store 2, select the second one, click on next. So I'm using the full disk. I'm not using any partition or particular limit. I'm using the full 150 GB. Click on next, finish, and yes. I have one more data store, that is data store 3. Select the final one, click on next, next, finish, and yes. So now you have your all storages over here. Now if I go back to monitor, go back to the hardware and storage, still there is no data available, that's fine. Now in the storage, I do have everything. My machine is now ready. This was the default one, which will be used only by the ESXi host. So in case if you upgrade, downgrade, if you want to patch anything, everything will be configured and saved on this particular data store. And the remaining three data store, I can use it for my virtual machine. Now let's go to the virtual machine, click on create virtual machine. I will deploy the MikroTik routers, four of them. So I will just click on next and I will select this one, select the MikroTik router. I will say empty R1. Next, I will select the data store one. Next, and I will unselect that one. Click on next and finish. Select this one. I need four adapters to this one. Two, three, four. Four adapters, and I will say to because this one has 16 GB, so I will go with 512 GB, and that should be 8 GB, and that should be all good. And click on save. Now let's go ahead and create one more virtual machine. That should be TR2. Click on next. I will select the data store 2. Next, next, and finish. Do the same thing. Click on edit. I will add 1, 2, 3, and I will add 512 MB of RAM, and I will add 8 GB. Alright, so instead of 4, I will go with the 3 machines only, so that we do have 3 different machines installed on 3 different data store. Click on next, and here I will select that same thing again, and here I will say mtr3, select the data store 3. So this is the flexibility if you have multiple storage arrays, so you can create your own partition and you can actually save your virtual machine accordingly. So I will do the same thing. So that should be 1, 2, and 3. That should be 5, 12. So that should be 8 GB. All my virtual machines are now ready. So let's start one by one now. Okay, so if I click on console, I can have this console. Or if you want to have the console in a new window, you can have in new tab if you want to have a new tab. In a launch in a remote console, that means you can come back here and you can launch here. So let's connect our ESXi server to workstation. So what I can do is that file connect to a server. Here I will give a server name 192.168.1.101. Server name username is root and mo is 123 hash, and click on connect. So it is now connecting, so I will connect anyway. Certificate error, and I will say that do you want to remember the login information? For now I am not worried. So now you see that my ESXi host is now connected to my workstation. So again from here I can go ahead and do the settings and everything. Next, if I click on MikroTik 2, again I can go ahead and edit your settings, but do not upgrade. It will upgrade it to workstation, so that will cause a contradict with the ESXi. So I'll just click on powering on, click on this one, click on power on and powering on. That's it. Now if I come back here, I can see all the 3 routers are powered on. Now if I go back to my host over here, now I should see my CPU utilization is been now increased to 5%. So that's still good. Now let's go to the MikroTik 1. Let's take the console, and here I will say admin, no password. Don't want to check password, will be mois123 hash and mois123 hash. Now I will assign the IP address. So let me erase this one for now. So what I will do is that I will assign the MikroTik routers with the IP addresses. Now MikroTik 1, Ethernet 1 will have an IP address of 10.1.1.1. MikroTik 2, Ethernet 1 will have an IP address of 10.1.1.2, and MikroTik 3, Ethernet 1 will have an IP address of 10.1.1.3. Now all the adapters are currently connected to the default switch, so that means they should be able to communicate with each other. Now MikroTik 2 Ethernet 3 will be having an IP address of 20.1.1.1. Ethernet 3 for the MikroTik 2 will have a IP address of 20.1.1.2, and Ethernet 3 for the MikroTik router 120.1.1.3. So let's configure that settings now first. So I will say that IP address address will be 10.1.1.1/24, interface will be Ethernet 1, and IP address address will be 20.1.1.1/24, interface will be Ethernet 3. That's it. IP addresses have been assigned, so I will do the same thing for the MikroTik 2. I will say admin enter, don't want to see that one. So boys 123 hash. Address address will be 10.1.1.2/24, interface will be Ethernet 1, and IP address address will be 20.1.1.2/24, interface Ethernet will be 3. That's it. If I go to MikroTik 3, open this browser again, admin, no, new password. I will say IP address address will be 10.1.1.3/24, interface will be Ethernet 1, and IP address address will be 20.1.1.3/24, interface will be Ethernet 3. That should be /24. All right, so IP addresses have been assigned. So what should happen is that at this moment of time, if I ping any address to any address, everything should be ping. If I ping from 10 dot from MikroTik 1, if I try to ping to 10.1.1.2 and 3, it should be able to ping 20.1.1.2 and 3. If I try to ping, it should be able to ping. So I will go back to MikroTik 1, do the testing, and now here I will say that ping 10.1.1.2, I should get the response. I am getting the response. If I say ping 10.1.1.3, because all of them are currently connected to the same switch. So if I say ping 20.1.1.2, I should be able to get the response. I say ping 20.1.1.3, I should be able to get the response. So currently at this moment of time, they will have a communication because all of them are connected to only one switch. Now, as per our requirement, as I said, I will be adding two switches over here, new switches. So this one will be the switch 1 with port group switch 1 and connected to uplink 1 and 2. Another one will be the switch 2 with port group switch 2, and uplink will be 3 and 4. So 10.1.1 will be connected to this one, and 20.1.1.1 will be connected to this one. And after that, I want to communicate now. So at this moment of time, so if I try to ping From 20.1.1.3 to 10.1.1, it should not ping because both of them are in a different subnet. Otherwise, what I will also do is that I will add one more router over here, 4, with Ethernet 1 as oh no, because this setup is all good, but the only thing is that I'm looking how I can verify, because when I'm creating two different switches connected to two different uplinks, the traffic should not be mixed. So I will go ahead and connect it first. I will create that one and I will think about it later. So I'll go to the networking. So I will go to the virtual switch first and I will create an add standard switch. That should be switch 1. And I'm selecting the, you see that 1, 2 and 3, 4. So I will select 1 and I will click on add. If I click on switch 1, I should have an option to add uplinks because currently I have only one. I will click on add and you see that it is now added the second one. That's fine, and now I got the two of them. That's all good. Similarly, I will do the same thing for the switch 2. Uplink 3 has been already taken, so I will just click on switch 2, add the uplinks, and 4 has been already added. That's all good now. My switches are ready now, but if you see, there are no port groups in the switches, so I need to create the port groups. So I'll go to port group, click on add port group. I will say switch 1 port group connected to switch 1, click on add. I will add one more thing, that should be switch 2 port group connected to switch 2, that should be add. Now if I go back to my switch 1, now I should see the port group. Currently the VLAN ID is 0. Now let's go back to my MikroTik router and I will click on edit settings. The 1 and 2 should be going to switch 1, 3 and 4 should be going to switch 2. Click on save. Fail to reconfigure attempts cannot be performed in the current state powered on. Okay, it's requesting me to power off things, which should not be a case. Let me try the second one if it is giving the same error. Yeah, it's giving. But I think in the older version we were able to change that one while machines were on. Not a problem, I will just go ahead and shut down that one. Okay, I will just reload that one. It's just a bug, so I'll have to close it one by one. Okay, everything is been closed, that's all good. Alright, so let me change the settings. If I let me see if I'm able to do it for all of them. No, I'm not able to do it. So I have to do it individually. Click on edit. I will go to switch 1, 1, switch 2 and 2. And if I go to MikroTik router 2, click on edit. Alright, so for testing purpose, what I will do is that instead of adding 3 to switch 2, I will just add both the adapters to the switch 1 only. All the 4 adapters of the MikroTik 3 will be added to switch 1. So in this case, what happening is like I am trying to isolate the traffic for switch 3. Because switch 3 is not connected to switch 2, that means 20.1.1.3 should not be reachable because that is connected on entirely different switch. So let's go ahead now and do the same thing. So on 3, I will change it to switch 1 simply, all of them. And now I can select all and click on power on. So let them power on. And again, if I go back to my workstation and if I don't want to connect this one now, so I can just close, close those tabs, right click and disconnect. and after that I can right click and remove that one. So that's it. You can connect the server and you can remove the server. That's all good. And another option to do that one would be using this option, the same thing. Instead of going to the file and connect server, we will just click on this option also. All right, so I think that should be all good. Now, if I say ping 10.1.1.2, I should be able to ping. And if I say ping 10.1.1.3, I should be able to ping because that is also connected to the same switch. Now ping 20.1.1.2, that is connected to switch 2. Yes, it should be able to ping, but if I say 20.1.1.3, if I try to ping now, it is also pinging, which is not right. Correct? Because switch 3, I did not connect it to switch 2, but still my traffic is going on. What is the reason for that one now? Now, for the reason that for that one is that if you remember, so what I did was while having the ESXi install, I installed 5 different adapters and all 5 different adapters are connected to the NAT simply. So in the workstation perspective, that is connected to NAT, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this is my ESXi host. Now what I did was I said switch 1 should be connected to uplink 1 and uplink 2, and I said switch 2 should be connected to uplink 3 and uplink 4. The problem here is that my MikroTik 1, MikroTik 2 and MikroTik 3. MikroTik 3 was only connected to switch 1, that is 20.1.1.3, but these two were connected to this switch. The problem is that the traffic is coming to this switch, that's all good, but it is going to the uplink. When it is touching the uplink, it is going to the same switch. Due to the same switch, the traffic is now coming back to this one. And this is how it is going to the MikroTik 3 now. So got the point now. What's happening? What is my problem here? I should not be able to communicate with that one, but unfortunately I did that one. Now to change that one, what I have to do is that I need to add these two uplinks to a different adapter on the workstation. So let's create a new adapter for that one on the workstation. So let me go to the workstation, click on edit and virtual network. So click on change settings. It will ask you administrative permissions. Click on no, yes. And after that, this is what you will see. Now I want to add a new network with the VMnet 2. Okay. It is now trying to configure it. Now on this VMnet 2, I don't need the DHCP, so I will unselect that one and I will rename that one as the switch to custom and OK. So I'm just adding a new switch in the workstation. That's it. So I will click on OK. Now I will go back to my ESXi server, right click on that one settings, and I will select the uplink 4 and 5 as the custom one, that is VMnet switch 2, and 5 as a custom one, switch 2. Click on OK. Think that should be all good if everything works fine. Now what happened is that it's the same diagram now. So I did no changes on the ESXi side because ESXi is good, because what I want I have done over there. Now over here, now I do have a NAT switch on my workstation. I do have a switch 2 switch, and now two uplinks are connected of the ESXi to this one and two of them are connected to this one, and this is my ESXi machine now. Now switch 1 is now connected to this one, and switch 2 is now connected to this switch. So now between these two there is no communication and it should not be happening, because now if I have MikroTik 1 and MikroTik 2 connected to switch 2 now, and MikroTik 3 connected to only switch 1, and this IP address is 20.1.1.3. Now if I try to ping 20.1.1.3, the traffic will come back here, go here, and it will see that there is no one 20.1.1.3. I don't know where to send this. The switch will say, I don't know, no one is available, because I'm not getting the reply, and my traffic should be dropped now. So let's go to the MikroTik number 1, take the console. Again, you see that we were able to ping 20.1.1.3, so I will just say again ping it. You see now it says timeout. So this is how you will isolate your traffic, and you plan your networking how you want to forward the traffic now. Now, in order to have a communication now, if I go back to my diagram, now if I want to reach to 20.1.1.1.3, I should have a MikroTik router which is connected. So one of the interface should be connected to switch 1, one of the interface should be connected to switch 2. Then using this MikroTik router number 4, we can route the packet just like a normal routing, simply, nothing else. So now we can simply say that, okay, so I can just change the subnet to maybe 30.1.1.3. MikroTik router will have 30.1.1.1, and he will have a default gateway of 10.1.1.254. Now I can say to MikroTik 1, if you want to reach to 30.1.1.3, go to 10.1.254. Now 20 subnet, it already has it, and I don't want to create a confusion over there. I just want to explain how you can do the routing. So if one of the interface is connected to switch 1, one of the interface is connected to switch 2, now the MikroTik 4 will be acting like a kingmaker, and he is able to route your traffic now. Now what happens is, like, now when MikroTik 1 wants to go to 30.1.1.3, he will forward the traffic to the MikroTik 1 4, which is connected on switch 1. And the MikroTik 4 will now forward the traffic on the switch 2. Not on the switch 1, sorry, it should be on the switch 2. Let me erase this up. Sorry, my confusion. So MikroTik 2 is now connected to switch 2, and you can say that it is the 20 network. So I will say, I will also erase this one and I will create a new one. All right, so I will connect the MikroTik 4 over here, and this is switch 2. So on switch 2, I already have a network of 20.1.1.0/24. So I will say .254 to my MikroTik. Now one of the interfaces will be connecting to the switch 1 also, and I will create a new subnet that is 30.1.1.0, and I will say .254 over here. So now anytime MikroTik 1 wants to communicate with 30 network, I will tell him to go on this way. Now if you see that MikroTik 1 is also connected one of the adapter to switch 1. So we'll come back to that one later, but just keep in mind. So for the routing purpose, what I can say to MikroTik 3, if you want to go to any other subnet, go to MikroTik 4. That's all good, because the traffic is coming in this way. MikroTik 4 is receiving it, and it is now sending to the switch 1. It is now able to communicate with that one, 30.1.1.3. There is one more, that is 10 network subnet is also connected to switch 1. So I can have one more link connected to switch 1, or within the same link I can have one more IP address with the .254 in the 10.1.1.0 subnet, and after that I can tell to MikroTik 1, instead of going in this way, now you can also go this way. simply on the switch 1. Both of them are logically, if you see, MikroTik 1 and MikroTik 3 are connected to the same switch, switch 1, and MikroTik 4 is also connected to the same switch. But it's only the links which are connected. So MikroTik 4 has two links or maybe one link with two IP address with the same subnet. So that's why he is able to do the communication between two different subnets like a routings. It's a simple thing. Logically, you have one router over here connected to the switch and you have one more router here, you have one more router here. But this subnet is 10.1.1.0/24. This one is 20.1.1.0/24. And on this router, you do have two links. So one will be acting as a 254 for this one default gateway. Another one will be acting as a default gateway. So traffic is going via switch to this router to this one. Same thing is happening over here. MikroTik router, whenever he wants to go to different subnet, on MikroTik 4, two different subnets are available, that is 10 and 30. But MikroTik router knows only 10 and 20 because that is what is configured. If he wants to go to the 30 now, he will just reach out to 4 and 4 will forward the traffic to 3. So that's how we do the networking in the ESXi client. So I have this will help you. This detail should be more than enough to understand the networking and everything. Now coming to the virtual switch, if I go to the switches one, if I click on edit settings, I do have link discovery. Now protocol, Cisco discovery protocol is there. Mode is to listen, advertise, both or none. So so basically when you're saying to the switch that you want to listen to the traffic or you want to do the both things, listen and advertise. So this one, this decision, if you are in a production, then you can make it. But if you see that I don't need to advertise any link discovery, because whenever the traffic is coming in, accordingly the switch is going to act. So I will keep on listen every time. Now Cisco discovery protocol, that means any Cisco device is connected, they can discover this particular link automatically. So by default it is running that one. Now security promiscuous mode. So we enable the promiscuous mode only if you are installing the nested virtual machines. So what happens in the promiscuous mode is that, for example, I will take the example of the EVNG, which is an emulator. So I will be installing or deploying my EVNG virtual machine to the ESXi. Now on this ESXi, there are two adapter switches connected, NAT and switch 2. Now NAT is acting as a management. So what happens is, like on this EVNG, you do have an option to map the adapter. So what I will say is that I want to map the management to the NAT and I want to match the data traffic adapters to the switch 2. Management will work fine, but the data will not be passed. So whenever you're installing any or deploying any routers, Cisco routers or MikroTik routers or any routers, the traffic which is trying to communicate with the outside world will be blocked. So it will be isolated within the ESXi only, so you're not able to communicate with the physical one. So when you enable the promiscuous mode, then it will allow the traffic to go outside. So that's why, again, this decision will need to be made accordingly. Now, NIC teaming, if you want to bundle more than one NIC, it's like we already have two uplinks. So if you want to bundle them and behave like a one NIC, because they can do the load balancing, you can do the NIC teaming. Now it says that load balancing based on route based on originating port ID. These are the different options. So accordingly, you have to select those options. Now network failover detection, link status only. That means if the links goes down, then only it will trigger this policy. Now again, route based on IP hash, again, it's a different topic, entirely not related to it until unless you are in a networking. So by default, it is selected that one. We will just keep it that one. Notify switch. Yes, it will notify the switch whenever the links goes down. So we have this ESXi. We have the 1, 2, 3, 4 links for now. One of them is management. We are not worried. Is connected to switch NAT and connected to switch 2. If any one of the link goes down, we want the switch 1 to be notified, which we created inside our ESXi. So that is a virtual switch. Failback is yes, failover order. You see that at this moment both of them are active and both of them are doing, what do we say, load balancing. But the order will be that preferred one is 1. If this goes down, then it will be reach out to traffic will be forwarded via the VMNet 2. Now traffic shaping, again, if you want to define your bandwidth, this is where you can define. Again, since we are doing the lab, I do not even require anything about this one. That should be all good. All right, so that was the networking and that was the storage. And the final piece, the puzzle is the connecting to the ESXi storage. So if I go to my server, Windows server, going to the storage, and if I click on ESXi, I do not have any ESXi storage created. So the purpose of this lab is to add a external networking storage to my ESXi host. So what I want to do is that I just want to host my storage somewhere else and I want to connect it to the ESXi, and this ESXi, whenever I deploy any VMs, I want that VMs to be stored on this storage, not on the ESXi data store. Now the benefits of this one is that if you have multiple ESXis, you will have a centralized storage. So centralized storage means you will be installing your vCenter server. And what happens, like in the vCenter server, you have a capability that all the VMs are now residing on the networking storage. If this ESXi host goes down, the vCenter server will just look for the another ESXi host who is free, who has the storage and resources allocated and up and running. It will just run that VM in that particular ESXi. So the downtime will be very, very limited simply because the ESXi machine is still, the folders and the files which we required is still there. It will just need to allocate that folder to this ESXi and start the machine off. And until the machine starts up, reboots up completely, that is the only downtime you will have it. That's it. So that's the benefit of having the centralized storage. So let me create the centralized storage now. All right, so first thing is that I will go back to my add roles and features, click on next, select the pool, keep it default. Over here I will go to the file and storage. I will expand this one and I will select ESXi target and I will click on next, and it should add those features now. And after that we will now create. So for that one I will go ahead to the my PC. You see that this is the volume. I will create a new folder over here. So I will say ESXi ESXi. Alright, so that is features is being installed. Click on close. So now let's go back to the storage now. ESXi now. Click on this option. It should start the what do we say, the disk location. I will select the E1. If you like, you can directly select the volume, or if you want to like to select the part, click on browse, go to the E1 and select the ESXi. So this is the path. Copy this path now. Alright, so it's totally up to you how you want to. So I've created a folder so that it will be easy to see the path. Click on next And few, I think we have to give the name, so I will say that ESXI storage ASCII rich for ESXI. Click on next. File size 200 GB, so I will say 195 GB. Make sure that you select the dynamically expanding. That means if it requires more 5 GB, it will automatically expand. Click on next. And I want the new ASCII target. That means I'm making this folder as a new target. So click on next. And I will say that otherwise, yep, I will say ASCII target. Click on next. The specific target names contain more than one or more characters that are not valid. Okay, so I need to change it to, I will say, um, maybe ESXI target. Next, it is now asking who should be accessing your this kind of storage. Who is allowed to access the storage? Click on add and I will say enter the IP address, and here I will enter the IP address of ESXi 192.168.1.101. That's it. Click on OK. And now the ESXi machine is allowed to access this storage. Click on next. Enable, I do not recommend if you're doing a lab, but if you're in a production, enable the username and password. Give a username and password. So you can create your own. Click on next and click on create. Alright, so my storage is now complete. So the only thing is that I need to connect my ESXi. So for that one, let me go back to the storage one, going to the adapters. In the adapters, you will see now software ASCII. Click on assign, click on enable. I will don't want to give any name, that's fine. Do not use chap, nothing, port binding. These are the advanced settings which I don't want to do, but in the static one, I will add that my server that is my Windows 16 2016 machine, and the IP address will be 192.168.1.100, and whatever the port, it should be a default port suite, so we are not worried. 24. Okay, so that should be all good. Dynamic targets. Dynamics means it you want your ESXi machine to learn automatically, which is again an advanced one because we need to understand the storage networking. So I just going with the easy one. Click Save Configuration. Fail to configure ASCII. Dismiss. Why is that? Okay, VMDK. Add static. Edit settings. Advanced settings. No. Okay, and also I will go to my Windows. Go to my Windows firewall. I will just turn off all the firewalls. Maybe that might be the another reason. Okay, that should be good now. Alright, so it is not allowing me to just click on cancel. Click on rescan. Otherwise, I do have anything else. Click on new data store. I will give a name. Let me see if I have any option over here. No, it is only getting the local ones, not the adapters. Alright, so I think I'm doing something wrong. So let me get those details. Alright, so I did nothing. I went to the software ASCII. and I just added the dynamic target, add a dynamic target, and that's it. I've given the IP address and that's all, nothing else, but I've selected this one and click on edit settings. I have made these changes, that is, do not use chap, and save the config. And after that the ISKey driver was online. And after that, I went to the data store, click on add new data store, select the first one and click on next. And it has detected my Microsoft 195 GB. So I was doing the correct thing, but the only thing is that I was looking in the wrong place. So I will say that this one will be the external data store. Click on next, click on next and finish. Now you see that it is not the entire disk will be erased. That's fine because it's a new one. And that should be all good. So now I do have one external data store now, so I will go ahead and I will create a new virtual machine. Click on next. If I click back, select this one, next, and select the same MikroTik router. That should be MKR4 and click on next. I will select external data store, click on next. I am not provisioning yet. Click on next. And if I say back, it is connected to switch 1. I will select it to default for now and click on next and finish. So I will select MikroTik 4 and I will add 4 adapters to it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that should be all connected to the default switch. That's all good. And here I am adding 5, 1, 12 MB RAM and 8 GB of storage. Save. Now I will power on this machine now and let this machine run. It's loading now. Now, as soon as I start the virtual machine, that means my ESXi will create the folders, files, what are required to run this virtual machine. So if I go back to my server now, if I go back to the new volume E, and inside this one you see that there is a storage already created and it is going to expand dynamically now as required. So my storage is now centrally located now. And now I can, in my vCenter server, now I can configure the policies which says that, okay, if any of the host is available, you run that machine on that particular host. In this way, what is the benefit is that you don't have to move your VM files from one host to the another host. We do not require it because everyone is able to access the storage from one particular place. They will just the new host who is going to run that machine, he will just go to the storage and he will get that files required to run that virtual machine. Right, so now if I click on console, click on browser, I will log in that one to make sure that it's having the communication. Right, so I will say that IP address add address is equal to 10.1.1.4/24 interface Ethernet 1. If I say ping 10.1.1.1, I should be able to ping. Okay, so VMnet 1, I will go ahead and change it to switch 1 because that is well connected, but it should be still able to reach it. Not okay, so it is not allowing me to. But again, it should be still able to reach out to the 10.1.1.1 because if you remember, 10.1.1 is connected to the NAT switch and the switch 1 switch, both of them are the same adapter. So it should be able to connect even though if it is a VM network that is also connected to the NAT ones only. So we should not be having any problem. But just to confirm, what I will do, I will just power off this machine and edit, and I will just connect it to switch 1 just to make sure that we have connectivity. And that's all we have to know with the networking and the storage ones. But again, we do have something advanced that if you want to enter the maintenance mode, that means all the virtual machine states will be reserved and you don't have access for them. Lockdown mode, so if you want to enter into lockdown mode and you strictly don't want anyone to access this uh, ESXi host because you're doing some work, that's where you will use that one. Services enable secure SSH or enable SSH shell. Now, SSH connection is different, shell is different. Shell means it will give you access to the root libraries and everything. Shell means like a normal SSH connection. Sorry, shell SSH means it's a normal SSH connection. So if you want to enable SSH, you can just click on enable SSH and that should be all good. And you can reboot root, that's it. And if I try to take the SSH connection, let me see if I am able to take it or not. Yes, I am able to take the SSH connection. That should be root and moise 123 hash, and yes, that's all good. So when if I disable the SSH connection from here now, it should not allow me to give the SSH connection. So let's go to the Migrotic 4 now once again, and I will have an admin login moise123 hash, and if I say ping 10.1.1.1, it should be able to ping now. Yep, that's all good. We should still be able to ping even if it is connected to the default one. But since we are running the storage networking on the management, that might be interfering in connecting those services. But again, this is the ESXi client, so where we have explained you in detail about how to do the networking, how to connect to the storage one, how to connect the external additional storage which we added into the workstation, and all the details which I can give you I have provided over here. And again, if I go to the host, if I click on monitor, this is where you will see the current usage of your CPU and everything. Now, as I said that I do have 8 virtual CPUs, so I think that will be connected as a PCPU 0, 1, 2, 3 and until 7. And if I go back to the host, the same information can be read over here. CPU is only being used 1%. That's good because MikroTik router doesn't use much CPUs. And the RAM we are using 15%, and the storage we are still using only 1%. But still, now you see that the storage altogether has become now 656. That is a local storage only. So if I go back to my storage over here, data stored over here, you will see the external data store with 194.75 GB still left. Right, I think that's all we need to do. The only issues I had while configuring the security and users, I was not able to configure the domain user or the local user. So I was not able to allocate the roles for that one. For the authentication, I have already added the domain, everything was all good, but still I'm not able to log in via the domain user. And even though if I have created a new user, still I was not able to log in because I don't have any option to, if I just give an shell access, let me see if that gives user one. No, still the same thing. So I need to find out how we can set up the permissions and everything on this one, but again, I don't think so that's much anyone is much interested on that one, but still it is a very good idea to have that researched and you should know how to configure things. But with the virtual machine storage and networking, I think I have made clear everything. All right. So I hope this was informative for you, and thank you.